A mass rally is taking place in Washington against the deployment of National Guard troops. Demonstrators are demanding an end to what they call the militarization of the U.S. Capitol. They say Washington, D.C. should be a space for free expression and not under military control. President Donald Trump is also threatening to send troops to maintain order in other cities, including Chicago, Baltimore, and New Orleans. DW correspondent Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber joins us now from Washington. Good to see you, Benjamin. So the protests today in Washington, are they only about the National Guard, or is there more to it?
They're not only about the deployment of National Guards, but that is one of the key demands from this We Are All DC rally that more than 100 organizations called for and rallied for here in the U.S. Capitol. There are three key demands that they mentioned. One of them is immediately withdrawing the National Guard, so the troops that are here in the U.S. Capitol, not just the one deployed from the DC National Guard, but also the one that several governors from Republican states have sent here to the U.S. The other one is ending the federalization of the local police department, that the U.S. Capitol basically lost control over its police department. And they have a third demand. They say it's the right to protect our communities in the future permanently. And of course, not only people here in Washington are closely following what's happening with the National Guard, but also in several other cities across the country. As you just mentioned, President Trump has threatened of deploying the National Guard troops there, with, of course, not only legal experts raising concerns over what that would mean. Like, take a look.
Guarding metro stations and popular tourist sites, and sometimes doing gardening. National Guard soldiers have become a recurring sight on the streets of the US Capitol. They've been deployed here as part of what President Donald Trump says is a necessary crackdown on crime. But data shows violent crime in Washington, D.C. is actually going down. And Trump's critics say the troops deployment is more about a show of power in Democrat-led areas. D.C.'s Attorney General is now suing the federal government, aiming to block the deployment. He posted, "Armed soldiers should not be policing American citizens on American soil," calling the deployment an involuntary military occupation. Legal experts are also casting doubt over Trump's deployment of the National Guard, a branch of the U.S. military.
Apart from the legal hurdles, using the military for direct law enforcement or actions that come close to law enforcement in cities around the United States, that's not something that we've done historically in the United States, absent a really severe emergency, especially when state and local officials are not requesting assistance.
That they don't want help is something that both the mayor of Chicago, where Trump has pledged to send National Guard troops next, and the governor of Illinois have repeatedly made clear.
Today we stand here united as the state of Illinois, Cook County, and the city of Chicago to send a very clear message. We do not want or need military occupation in our city. We do not want or need militarized immigration enforcement in our city.
As lawful citizens exercise their First Amendment rights, Trump and his team will be looking for any excuse to put active duty military on our streets, supposedly to protect ICE.
Earlier this summer, huge protests erupted in Los Angeles after Trump sent thousands of National Guard troops there to accompany ICE immigration agents on raids. Now a federal judge has ruled that deployment was illegal. And there is also a question over resources. Experts estimate the troops' deployment in the U.S. Capitol is costing roughly $1 million a day.
This takes the military away from roles that are so much more important for our national security and for our protection, whether it's training to be ready to fight in a foreign armed conflict if needed. It also risks undermining the respect that people have had for the military when you put them in these politicized environments.
And it is not just Chicago Trump is aiming for with his National Guard plans. He has also hinted that New Orleans and other Democrat-led cities could be next in line.
All right, so other cities could be next in line. Benjamin, what do we know about these plans for further National Guard deployments? How realistic are they?
So he's repeatedly dodged the question when asked which would be the next city. He has said Chicago. We just saw that the mayor and the governor who are backing down on threats by Donald Trump. He also posted an AI-generated picture on his two social accounts showing the skyline of Chicago and some helicopters also tied to this name of Department of Defense. It is now called a Department of War after this executive action by the White House. But what we're seeing here, and that's what we've heard not only by protesters but also by legal experts, is that the White House and the Trump administration are pointing out, singling out Democrat-led cities. For example, in Los Angeles, we had this judge now ruling that it was illegal. And the big problem here is that it is not always clear who is in charge of deploying the National Guard, because according to the White House, it's up to the president to decide if there's an insurrection or a risk of an insurrection. That's why he sent the troops to Los Angeles. Here in D.C., it's different. It's a district, so many are now calling once again for Washington, D.C. to have statehood, to be a state, because then a governor could actually say, we don't want this deployment of National Guard troops. President Trump has left it open which one will be the next city. He hinted at Chicago. He hinted also at New Orleans. It's not quite clear where he wants to go, but we know that many across the country are actually following what is happening here in D.C., as it might soon happen to their cities too.
That was DW Washington correspondent Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber for us. Thank you so much, Benjamin, as always.